Nala Systems present to 1,000,000 Cups?
No, but we
NALA.
would love to.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
Nala is a membrane-based filter for the city water supply that takes out those chemicals from the Chemours plant in Fayetteville.
Okay.
And they're an NC Idea finalist. They've gotten an SBIR grant. I can get Sue to present with you guys if you're ready.
That'd be great. Are you guys taking a break this week for Veterans Day?
No, I think I accidentally clicked on RTP versus Wilmington, but I'll stay here.
Well,
They're tired of me.
Who's going to host Wilmington this week then?
It's not I'm not on the calendar, and it's a pharmaceutical, it's like a drugstore is their presenter this week, which is not my ball game, but.
Gotcha. Well, it's 9 o'clock. We're live on Facebook, right, George?
We are.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Do a little screen share here. All right. What are we seeing? We seeing the right screen? Yep. Okay. Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the RTP chapter of 1,000,000 Cups. For those of you that are joining us today that are service veterans of the United States Armed Forces, I want to say thank you for your service and happy Veterans Day. Your service is much appreciated for making it possible for us to do what we do in this country. So 1,000,000 Cups is a free national program which is designed to educate, engage, and connect entrepreneurs. We are the local entrepreneurial ecosystem building arm of the Kauffman Foundation, which is a $4 billion endowment for the promotion of economic development through entrepreneurship. There are over 160 communities of 1,000,000 Cups across the country, and we're a supportive, neutral space that's industry agnostic, and we are not a pitch environment. And what we mean by that is that our presenters aren't selling to the room. Our format is that we have 1 to 2 presenters give a 6-minute presentation, followed by 20 minutes of question and answer from the audience. And the biggest question that we want to answer is, what can we as a community at 1,000,000 Cups do to help our presenter? We love it for people to get involved with 1,000,000 Cups, and there's a number of different ways that you can do that. You can become an organizer. You can reach out to myself, George, Terry, any of the other organizers on for how you can become an organizer for the RTP chapter of 1,000,000 Cups. And you can reach out to Jim to find out how you could possibly become an organizer and get involved with 1,000,000 Cups in Wilmington. Welcome, Jim. And you can talk a little bit more about that later on during community announcements. You can also apply to present. So if you have a company that would benefit from presenting at 1,000,000 Cups, please visit our website and you can submit your application at www.1,000,000cups.com/RTP. And right at the top, there's a button that says apply to present. You click that button and just answer a handful of questions. And Tracy, our intake coordinator, will walk you through the rest of the process. You can also refer a presenter. So if you know an entrepreneur with a startup company, let them know we're here. Invite them to a meeting. Let them check it out and see what it's all about. And let them decide if this presenting at 1,000,000 Cups would be a benefit to them and their startup company. And then, of course, last but not least, you can do what you're doing today, which is attend and provide excellent feedback for our presenters. I want to thank our community organizers. We have Krista Johnson Sotomayor, William Clote, the aforementioned Tracy Ames, who is our intake coordinator, Rosalinda Cruz, Terry Conlon and George Stewart are our coaches. We've got Dan Hepworth, who's doing our back end video, and myself. Also want to thank our community sponsors, Muddy Dog Roasting Company, Global Training Initiative, NC Idea, and American Underground. We also have Imperative Product Operations, the Massapequa Tutor, Soto IP, and New York Life. So today's presenter, we have Dane Vosler, and he's going to present DreamLeader, And Dane, are you ready to go with your slide deck? I'm gonna go ahead
I'm
and start
ready.
my screen share. Excellent. So go ahead and take the wheel.
All right, thanks, Dominic. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, yeah, good morning, y'all. Happy Wednesday, I think. Yeah, so DreamLeader is our company name. Redocd is the name of our product, our first product. It's a play on word, kind of like document or docking something to a system, kind of like pinning something to a system like Pinterest, but docking it. So a little bit more enterprise focused. But we'll get into that in just a moment. Just a little bit about who I am. My name's Dane Vosler. I've been living in Rock Hill with my wife and 4 girls since 2017. We came from Charleston, South Carolina. There's our 4 little girls. There's my wife. We love the Southeast. I grew up here. I grew up in Atlanta. Went to school in Athens at UGA. Worked in Charleston. Wake Forest was one of my main clients at Winston-Salem while in Charleston. And then now I work in Charlotte. So a lot of ties to the Raleigh area, not so to speak, being in Raleigh all that much, but I've been up there several times for several different business things. So it's one of the reasons I'm reaching out today, trying to stay somewhat local to where I'm at, even though a little bit further away than some of you. Really quickly, one of the questions that came up, just kind of be thinking about when I'm going through the presentation is how can you help? Right now, we're looking for early partnerships. We've done a soft launch. So anything, any ideas on how to attract, right now, our software, we'll see it here in a second, is working with startups, but also college students as a secondary market. So any ideas on how to get associated with those startups, obviously things like this, but any other techniques that your company has found successful on networking or getting early partnerships for testing out software and trying new things. And then also we are semi-actively looking for funding for Series A. We've bootstrapped. We'll look at that in a moment as well, but thoughtful ideas, approaches as well on what it would take to get that next round of Series A funding, since we've already done kind of seed funding. So just those are just things to be thinking about on how you can help. Yeah, I'll kind of explain what it is. DreamLeader is our company, like I mentioned. Redocd is our first product, and Redocd is a knowledge management platform. It's in the same space as SharePoint or Confluence, if you've ever used those. So we are working to create an alternative to some of those larger enterprise softwares, but still keep it very nice and tidy, very organized, very seamless. And so it's a great place to store shareable links and things like that. So you'll see here, Redocd is for software teams first. That's our primary market we're focused on. I come from a software background. And so we've created a spot where teammates can put their files or upload their files just like any other system. They can also store shareable links as files in our system. So we're very focused on being SaaS first. And what I mean by that is that we are working to solve the problem where there's technology moving more and more to online, to SaaS. And how do you manage those links? How do you manage that content where not everything is a hard file on your desktop that you're going to put in a folder online? So we're working on solving that problem. You can also store meeting notes, wiki, how-to, all that content directly in there without having to create a Word doc or anything like that. You can just write directly into the system. It's pretty nice. And we're really focused on turning projects into profiles. So every team page, every lander is a seamless page. So if you switch between projects, they're all going to have the same layout. They're going to have like a kind of a profile for your project, but it's all going to be very seamless. We also have a secondary market as college or student organizations for teams at college to work on. So whether you're a college student and want to take notes or during class or put your files in between classes, or if you want to work on a team as like a student council or things like that, it's a great opportunity for college students to try free software and get in there as well. I just mentioned that you can take notes with your class. It's lightweight. It's built into the browser. We have a Chrome extension as well, and it's free. So college students like that. A couple quick snapshots. It kind of looks like a Google Drive to some degree. We can talk more a little bit after the presentation if you're interested about how it's very different, but you'll see on the right side, there's these channels or topics that allow you to take your content for a team and sort it by a feature your team is working on or an event or a channel. And then on the left side is like a meeting timeline where you're taking meeting notes for your team. Everyone can reference those, and those can be tagged across different features. This is kind of a future looking. It kind of gives you a better view of the space. It's kind of a conceptual thing. We've already built most of this, but you'll see you have your team space essentially. It's an all-in-one team space, but it is not project management. We're not trying to dish out tasks to people. We're trying to store content, files, things like that, and organization. So that's our niche right now. Really quickly, I have 2 minutes, I think, even maybe less. As I mentioned, we're focused primarily on software teams, and those don't have to be for software companies. They can be for any company. So grocery stores or anything, everyone has software teams these days. So that's our main focus. College students is our secondary, or college organizations. And then in the middle is the sweet spot, which is college startups, which we actually have worked with college startups, which is kind of funny. So that's kind of our main focus right now. Really briefly, we founded in late 2018. We bootstrapped up to about $55,000. We've raised and invested it pretty shrewdly, actually. It worked out really well. We're all a team of part-timers. We are pre-revenue right now until 2021. We're going to monetize the product in a SaaS model, and we're going to look for longer-term commitments. We think that's where the industry is going, even though you could do a month-to-month. So very similar pricing. We're not trying to reinvent the pricing model too much. Like I mentioned, we're already pre-revenue. We're trying to monetize. I think that's a duplicate. So, and I think
Dane, could you wrap up, please?
And that's it for me. So yeah, thanks y'all. Thank you for your time.
All right. So, George, are you going ahead and setting up the breakout rooms?
Yes, I am. Just give me
Okay.
one moment here. I've got a little introduction for you to talk to, which I
Sure.
will.
All right. So if you weren't here last week, we are piloting a new format for the Q&A session. We're going to be breaking up the group into breakout rooms where we can talk a little bit about the presentation and come up with some questions by group, so everybody has an opportunity to be able to be heard and contribute to the Q&A process, as well as come up with better questions having to do with Dane's asks of the community. And then when we come back from the breakout, a representative from each group will ask the question that was developed by each breakout room. And then once we're done with that, we'll go into community announcements and then into an open question and answer forum where it's going to be unmoderated and we just have conversation. Okay. So let's give a couple of seconds to have George develop the breakout rooms. How much time do you need there, George?
They should be. I'll stop sharing here.
Okay.
Yeah, the breakout room should be available now. So if you guys want to join a breakout room, please do.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and fire away.
Choose your room.
I don't see it on my screen, George.
Not
What's the
seeing?
quickest
Oh,
way
okay.
to
So,
list?
so go
There
down.
it is.
Go down to the bottom and click breakout rooms. It gives you an
Yeah.
opportunity to
Okay.
join one of the 4 breakout rooms. So room 1 is if you want to talk about ways you can engage college students. Room 2 is how you can engage startup companies. Room 3 is approaches for funding. So you remember he was talking about approaches to Series A funding. And then room 4 would be other suggestions. So if you've got something that you think would be helpful for Dane that is not it was not part of the original ask, please join that room. And I will say that breakout rooms, you've got less than 4 minutes. So go ahead and join them.
We'll give them 5. We'll give them 5.
Okay, you're gonna up them. All right, excellent.
Where do we find that? I don't.
Down at the bottom,
of the screen.
it says breakout rooms. If you scroll down to the bottom,
Not everybody has that, guys.
not everybody has breakout
Yeah,
rooms.
All right,
as
I'm
an
gonna
example,
move
I'm
to
on
breakout
a
rooms.
tablet and I don't see that as an option.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
a laptop. I don't see it either.
I don't see it either. This is Mike, but you can send me to 2. if that's possible.
We're gonna get you there. So for those of you who are with us on Facebook, if you have questions, suggestions, please type them in the chat and we will include them in the discussion once we get together. But in the meantime, you're just going to have to look at an ugly picture of me for the next 4 minutes.
Hey, George.
Hey, you came back.
They booted me out.
Oh, goodness.
No, in a good way. They were trying to be like, well, we're gonna ask questions like Dane's not here. And the first one was like, hey, Dane, what would you do with this and that? And the moderator was like, hey, let's try to ask those questions like Dane's not here. So I was like, I'll just go to the main session and let them be candid. So they're kind of like brainstorming right now before they come back. So they were doing a great job.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
So good job in the presentation. I like the way you you put the samples on a laptop.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
That was a cool idea.
Thanks. Yeah, it kind of makes it feel more real. It is a real software, which is funny. I mean, one of them was Vision, but one of them is real software, and it just helps conceptualize, like, do I want to like work here? Is this a place like I feel good about, or does it not feel good? So yeah, trying to make it a little bit more tangible.
So yeah, that was good. That was good. I think you'll get some questions about funding. There are some comments in the chat that you want to look at.
Yeah, thank you.
And the one thing I would ask or suggest is before you leave today is capture the chat.
Totally. Yep, I'll do that. That's great.
So we're going to give these guys a couple more minutes.
Sounds good.
So last week we sent everybody to the breakout rooms randomly.
yeah, that's right.
And the comment that came back was, well, I knew something about topic A, but you put me in a room with people talking about topic B.
Right.
So this week we asked people to pick their own rooms, and it sounds like a lot of people aren't able to do that. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what the solution is, but we'll figure something out.
I thought it was super cool that you put topics on that. I've never seen that before, so I like that. I thought that was smart. I thought it was great.
Yeah, but I think you were the only one who picked one and actually moved yourself.
Oh, okay.
As far as I can tell.
Oh, well.
Zoom fell over when I tried to come back from the breakout room because the timer ran out.
Oh, did it really? Oh, I asked it to extend. All right, well, I'm going to bring everybody back. They'll come back in a minute.
Totally fell over.
Really?
Yep. I said,
like your Zoom client?
I said, leave the Zoom room and leave the breakout room, and Zoom fell over.
Wow. I will check my options for breakout rooms.
Yeah, I don't know if that just happened to me or if it happened to anybody else.
Most people are still in their breakout rooms.
Well, we chose to leave the breakout room because the timer went to 0, and there wasn't a hey, the Zoom rooms, the breakout room will close in a minute. So there was no timer. We just said, okay, well, it looks like we're done. We're heading back. And
All right. So a few glitches to iron out. And we should see people coming back. Here they come. Well, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to do a round robin, at least one round robin, and then we'll figure out whether we have time to do a little bit more. So, so first of all, room number 1, engage college students. Who is in that room who would like to bring up what kinds of things came out there?
Oh yeah, I guess I have to speak. Sorry, I was raising my hand.
Oh, great.
Okay, yeah, sure. So yes, first of all, I am a college student, so I can share from my own experience what I think about files. And I was saying in the breakout room that we are using always learning management system. In my case, it's Canvas. So the system already has all the content, all the documents there that are coming from the structure or from the core designer, correct? But where I do see an opportunity is in 2 aspects. In first place is when we have to work in groups, in small groups, because there is not a clear specification of where to go to work in groups. And in second place is managing your own files for your own learning, right? And one of the concerns of our group was, how do you later export these files, if that is possible, or how do you continue moving this knowledge elsewhere? Yeah.
That's super helpful. Thank you, Alejandro.
All right, we'll go to room 2, engaging startup companies.
hey, Joe or Trey, why don't you ask one of you guys to pick your question?
Joe, you're muted.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. I'm curious as to why startups are an important segment, because they are notoriously hard to get revenue from. And then the other thing is that if you want to engage a startup, free is always a good option. And then Trey, I think you had something else.
Yeah, my question was, given the number of free or very low cost options already that can function in knowledge management terms, like Slack or Google Drive, how would you, I think your message needs to be clear about why you're pushing, why someone should add yet another tool to their stack, especially in a startup mode where cash flow is critical.
Yeah. Should I respond to these now, or am I
Oh yeah, please do.
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Joe, the first one, great question. Right now we are free until like mid to late next year. So we can afford to work with startups, and we hope to kind of start our tool is very lightweight, kind of like the feel of Trello, but it's very structured. So we want to partner with people that are like, I'm not ready to commit to Confluence or Asana or something like that yet. And we feel like it's a good time to get in with them and kind of let them evangelize the tool if they find it really valuable, that it would be a good place to start, because getting in with a huge enterprise is very tough unless the angle right now is more of a government contracting focus, where it's like, hey, they're looking for replacements and startups and stuff like that, which is also very difficult. So I've started on startups, but yeah, I could always pivot elsewhere. I've heard government contracting and documentation a lot of times is a kind of a hell, and they're looking for ways to kind of organize it a little bit better. So great question. And then the other question about Dropbox and Slack and things like that is a great question. Yeah, we're trying to find our spot. I know our tool, just from personal experience, like over time as teams grow, is very valuable. But you're right, from a team size, between a team of 2 to like 6 people can live in Dropbox. They don't need to move to something more heavyweight, more organized yet. But Google Drive is focused on individual efficiency, finding something really quickly, finding something very recent. It's really for your own organization. Even Google Drive for Teams, I have found, is not as powerful as something like knowledge management, a true knowledge management system. So it really starts to kick in when you have 6 or more team members or multiple teams trying to coordinate stuff across different teams, that's where our tool really comes in. So it is kind of a funny little market that we are team focused. And I think you're right, Trey, to say, how do you message that? How do you create that message that says, I need another tool right now, and on top of Google Drive or something like that. So yeah, that is where we're trying to get in.
Good, thanks, guys. Room 3, the approaches for Series A funding.
Josh, you want to address that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think basically the consensus was, so one of the things you're gonna need is to show what problem you're solving from your deck. I don't really understand what you're solving versus the myriad of competitors that are out there. How is this different than Trello? How is this different than Basecamp or any of those things? It's sort of, I don't really understand it, the value there. And then the other thing was, as far as your team goes, you mentioned you have 5 people on your team. You guys are part-time, but who are they? What's their expertise? The fact that it's part-time. So in our group, the consensus I think was, you're not ready for Series A. What are things that you could do to make the case a little bit better, and then maybe revisit that? Dominic, was that the crux of it?
Yeah, exactly. We kind of identified 3 areas. You needed a unique problem that you solve. We don't see that. You need a team that's full-time dedicated to this, that's not, part-time and unpaid. And you need to be able to show revenue or potential for revenue. And we're not yet seeing that either. Those are all things that, you're gonna, even if we do introduce you to people that are capable of funding a Series A, they're gonna send you right back and say, get us this, amongst other things.
Sure. No, sounds
good. So how do you approach that? Where are you going to deal with those problems?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't want to treat this like a pitch deck. So I actually have I've done several pitches and pitch competitions and stuff. We actually did one last night. And it addresses a lot more of those problems. So this is like more open-ended, kind of like this is who we are, we're on the map. So a lot more of the business and a lot more of the funding and who our team is, like you're mentioning, and why are we the team to do it. That's kind of all more answered in like a true style pitch deck.
Okay.
All right, room 4, other suggestions. The grab bag.
Grab bag.
I was about to say, I guess I was the one taking notes, so I guess I'll speak. We did actually, room 3 mention this, and I just we all wanted a little bit of clarity on where, I guess, the money and the revenue comes in, just like they mentioned. I know that you mentioned the resource. I think Elizabeth mentioned that the resource would be free until 2022, and then you were focusing more on long-term memberships in a technology space where I actually work for an IT managed service provider. So in an IT space, I find that almost threatening from the side of someone managing the technology to have such a long-term relationship of 3 to 5 years, obviously, because software adapts, things change, that mechanism. And then when it does go free, what if that pricing structure, if you could give us some clarity onto how long you're planning, why you're planning it to make it a long-term, and then also the different facets of revenue that you plan to get into, so that we can kind of understand, how you're making money.
Sure. Yeah, the 5-year commit is obviously it's something we're starting to see with some companies, because some companies are like, well, if I commit to you, I have to put all my content in there. Our teams are all putting their stuff in there, and what kind of security do we have? So it's really an incentive if there is a long-term play, but we would still offer month to month, per user pricing, things like that, because the pricing model is mostly on traffic. It's not so much on storage space. So that's where, even if you have like gigabytes of data in there, it's just a way to monetize it. It gives people an easy understanding, like, oh, I put 20 gigabytes of stuff, but a lot of stuff is moving to the web. And so you're actually storing links or storing reference to things, which has very little but the traffic, the amount of users coming on is why the per user pricing model is so perfect, because it's really charging per bandwidth. So of course the pricing model would have to cover, hosting, but also continued development of features and support and things like that. But yeah, 5-year commit is just an offering that we want to start to we would want to provide, but it is definitely, we want to have free to try month to month per user pricing. That's very, industry standard.
All right, thank you. So we'll do a quick one around to make sure that we covered everybody. Room 1, engage college students. Any others? Any other comments from there? And Bob, we'll come to you.
This is Vinay. I put it in the, Dan, I put this in the comments there. Maybe if you could kind of walk us through a narrative at a future point, that would help me a lot. I didn't understand pre and post your software, what that experience looks like. That might help. At least for me, that would have helped kind of understand the picture better as to how it all works and how it's positioned. So.
No, that's fair. I think the problem solving. So like typically on a software team or any other team, but our main focus is software. It's comprised of, a project manager, scrum master, maybe a tester, maybe some developers, maybe a tech lead or architect, things like that. And as you're all working together, essentially you're in a Jira board or a Trello space, managing the tasks, but all the content is either getting lost into their personal hard drives, Dropbox, Google Drive, things like that. And there's no way to go reference it and build these spaces out. So they usually use something like Confluence or something, because once you have a team that size and multiple teams working together, if those team members are also on multiple teams, you're building all these spaces out in Confluence or SharePoint to put all this content in for your team, so your team can easily find and reference other teams' materials, other team members' materials. However, with that problem with Confluence and with SharePoint is all the spaces are disparate. So everyone's building spaces differently. Everyone's putting their content differently, and there's no knowledge gain from it. So it's really, you're just creating these very messy, cluttered spaces that don't have much reuse value. And so we've streamlined that process. We made every team space the same structure, but the content is very different. So you can kind of toggle between different spaces, easily find what you're looking for, and it allows team members to discover other assets, artifacts, things like that, and a seamless experience, as opposed to, losing stuff to your own personal Google Drive, losing stuff in a Slack channel or stuff like that, because when you share with the board, the whole team has access to it. So your whole team is now able to see the methodology of what you're working on. So when you build a feature, first we do storyboards, and then we do mock-ups, and then we do requirements or things like that. And you're going to see that over and over again. You can also repeat your methodology, kind of like a template as well. So that's really the space we're in. So you have to have a team that's kind of grown into that size. Typically a small team, about 5 to 6 people. And usually there's also other product teams as well that those team members are on. And once you have that ecosystem, it becomes increasingly valuable to have knowledge management, not just folder management like Google Drive.
All right, we have time for one more question. And Bob asked if he could throw a question in. So after Bob's question, we're going to go to community announcements. And if you guys would like to stick around, Dane is going to be here after the meeting for a virtual chat around the coffee pot.
Thanks, George. This is actually maybe more comment than question. So I really couldn't get a sense of what your product does and what problem it solves. But I can say, from a perspective of where work is going and how many more companies are going to become less married to a physical space where you see that person that can follow up on something. If you build things in your product that enable follow-up, particularly you're in a meeting, you take notes, well, where do those notes go? Who committed to do what by when? And how are you tracking the follow-up of people getting things done? To me, that's a tool that I have not heard a lot of people solving for. And as more people get virtual, you need now a piece of software that's tapping someone on the shoulder and saying, hey, you said you were going to have that report done by wherever, and now we're all held up because you didn't produce. Where is it? So to me, that would be an awesome development of this, and you'd be solving a real problem.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly where we're headed.
Yeah, Dane, I would suggest looking into the product software 90. We use it at our organization because we do have small groups and we do work both virtual and in a soft space. So It coordinates and helps us keep our meetings on track in a very efficient way. However, when we send those things, they do keep a running track of all of those to-dos, long-term, sort of to short-term, all of that. But the one thing that we do not have inside that system is a project management grouping. It might even be a great space for your product to integrate into. Because as we're doing project work, that is one piece that I've seen. So it might be, for example, like if anyone on this chat uses a meeting forums management software, it might be a good bolt-in or add-on for those companies that are working just as a secondary source. So you don't have to generate 100% of your revenue. And then from the perspective of, I actually, as a student, do think, because it depends on your organization level, but in a master's situation, I was a master's student for some years, and we had group projects where people were in different countries. And I could definitely see something like this for those particular candidates, international business, or, just long-term study, it being very important for them to have something like this. Because as I know, there's not a resource. So I could see that being in both systems.
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you. It's called 9T.
Yep, just like 90, like so N0 or 90, but it's spelled out NINETY.
Awesome.
Thanks, Brittany. We're going to go ahead and wrap the question and answer session and then go into community announcements. After that, we can follow back up with Dane with just general around the coffee pot questions, so unformatted at that point. But the community announcements, if you have something that you'd like to announce from the community, a new entrepreneurial resource, an event that you have coming up, any kind of grant application closings or anything else like that that you know about that you'd like to announce here, please ping George. He'll put you in the queue, and we'll go ahead and call you in order. While you're doing that, I'll re-announce our general ask for each meeting. We love for the community to get involved with 1 Million Cups. We're always looking for new community organizers. If you'd like to volunteer to help make these meetings happen, please get in contact with myself, George, Terry. I see Rosalinda on the call as well. You can get in contact with any of them, as well as if you have a company that you would like to or think you would benefit from presenting, please go to our website, www.1millioncups.com/RTP, and apply to present. George, do we have anybody who is, let's see, were the breakout rooms useful? If you can go ahead and answer this survey real quick, and then we'll get into the queue for community announcements.
And just a reminder, if you have a community announcement, send me a message or send one to Dominic.
All right. Looks like people like the breakout rooms. So at least thus far, some of you not sure, but we'll continue seeing if we can hone this, maybe give us a little bit more time to discuss in there, and we'll utilize it to ask better questions. So George, do we have anybody who is interested in making a community announcement?
I have not seen any.
Oh, no. Brett, you don't have an announcement?
I was trying to get rid of your poll here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little distracting.
Yeah. We're still doing the open mic, and appreciate folks who came out. Michelle, thank you. She came out and checked us out, so I appreciate that. And we're at the Blue Note Grill 7 to 9 tonight on Wednesdays. Honestly, I'm starting to get a little concerned because of the spike in COVID cases again. So people may get a little nervous, but I will assure this group and any other folks that when you come, we are asking people to wear their mask and stay distant, and because the tables are spread out and the place normally holds about 150. So we hold it down to about 40. So come join us. And we have outside too, and a covered outside. So come and hang out with us. It's live music, and it's a lot of fun.
And good barbecue.
Great barbecue.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, of course. If nobody else, I've got another one, RTP Business Networking, which is a casual networking event in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. is going to be going on tomorrow evening. That is in Morrisville at the Courtyard Marriott that's near the airport. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in the Eventbrite link here if anybody's interested in attending that. Make sure you bring your masks and stay 6 feet apart. Anybody else, George?
No, that's it.
That's it. Excellent. All right. Well, with the community announcements done, we'll go ahead and get into open networking and open questioning with our presenter. Where did he go?